Some of the challenges my customers are facing is they have a lot of different device types out there. So whether it's desktops and laptops, desktops and mobile, there's just a lot of devices. And over the years I've heard that, hey, the PC's dead. Well, a lot of the customers I talk to, especially in the enterprise space, the PC's still not dead. And so they have this kind of management dilemma of how do I manage all these devices under one roof, make them simple for the users, but give them a connection to a backend like Citrix or Microsoft RDS and make it easier for the user. So where iJoule comes in is they offer kind of end-to-end a lot of different device types, whether it's a thin device, like their UDC3, or they give you an option around the universal desktop converter to be able to convert existing devices. And it's one of my favorite products personally. So I can take these desktop devices, convert them into thin clients, and make them easy for the users to connect to a backend like Citrix, for example. And then finally, they have this nifty little thing called the UD Pocket. It's a little USB key about this big. That's one of my other favorite products because you can then target contractors, for example, when they come in and say, here, use this, plug it in, boot off of it, and boom, you're able to secure the endpoint and again, bring it under management. So, and kind of ease the pain of management end to end in the enterprise. So that's the biggest challenge I see, and then that's how iJoule really solves that issue. I have customers who are constantly always looking to rip and replace devices, whether it's their desktops are coming end of life. So I have an education customer who recently brought on iJoule thin clients to leverage in their environment, piloted them with a group of users, and now is looking at expanding it even further. Another area that I see iJoule a lot of is in healthcare. iJoule has a great integration with Imprivata. The whole notion of just tap in and log in and get into that back end. It's usually Citrix a lot of times, and easing the pain for the doctors, the nurses to focus on the patient more so than worrying about having to put in a password. So they simplify the endpoint for the doctors and nurses as well. Recently, I've been doing a lot of work in the finance space. So a lot of financial companies are looking at how to lower the cost of the endpoint, whether they're going to convert them or replace them with a UDC device. They're looking at ways to simplify management, and that's really the focus, and then have that multi-monitor scenario, because some of the higher end UDC devices like the UD5 and up can handle multi-monitor, and then again connections back into RDS or Citrix. Law firms, believe it or not, are looking into iJoule as well, again to simplify the endpoints as well. And that's really the goal, is to simplify and ease the management pain has been the theme that I see when I talk to a lot of the customers that I deal with day to day. When I see a hardware device, it's 3 to 5 years. You layer on a conversion tool like UDC, now you get a couple more years out of it. And once you get beyond that, the supported lifespan, then they become commoditized, and as you need to, you rip them out and replace them. So the savings really is in the lifespan of the device, and what iJoule can do to help customers get more life out of the current devices and to come up with a strategy to replace them with thin devices over time. One of my favorite features is the universal desktop converter tool, and not only are they tackling the PCs and laptops and current devices in the enterprise, but they're also tackling some of their competitors, and they're able to not only convert PCs and laptops but also their competitors. And what that does is, if a customer is contemplating, well, I already own competitor X, but I really want to bring in iJoule, well, they can bring in the UDC tool and say, hey, we can convert that device, bring those under the Universal Management Server. We love the Universal Management Server, and now we can bring them under the iJoule umbrella and manage them with one tool and have end-to-end story in the enterprise. iJoule as a partner has been excellent. They help enable us as a VAR and a reseller, and they also willing to work with us, whether we do marketing events with them or come to their events. And as far as goals, they set reasonable goals so that we can hit them and help them drive their revenue and their brand. And I frankly speaking, they're one of my favorite partners to work with in the industry. I'm a technologist at heart, and it's just fun to be able to play with their technology and then help spread the brand, the Igel brand. So if we look into the future, to me, the big issue is going to be devices and cost of devices. And I feel that, you know, Igel is really going to play a big part in transforming the enterprise, helping the enterprise get better life out of their current devices, but also offer them good ROI and TCO stories within devices. Let's face it, everything's in the cloud now. You know, apps are mainly SaaS-based in a mix of, you know, server-hosted, so that's where Citrix and Microsoft RDS come into play. And users just want to get access to what they need access to. Igel makes it simple with their devices, whether it's a UDC3 or a UD Pocket or convert a current device. Over time, the story is going to become, well, how can I make the device more, you know, a commodity, for lack of better words, and minimize the demand on the device and just make it just this thing that sits at the endpoint. And the user just walks up, clicks a button, logs into their desktop, and it's hosted somewhere. And they can get their apps, they can get their email, they can do their ERM, whatever their job is. And I think that's where Igel is going to play a big part in the future of IT. Igel is being disruptive because they're forcing the enterprise to really rethink how they manage devices. The enterprise is so geared towards Windows and Microsoft and physical apps being at the endpoint when everything's kind of moving, you know, into the cloud, moving into SaaS, and the endpoint's becoming irrelevant. So what Igel is really disrupting is the notion of what's an endpoint. And, you know, can an endpoint be converted to a thin client? Yes. Can an endpoint be replaced by a thin client? Yes. And I think, you know, over the next, you know, let's say 3 to 5 years, it's going to keep evolving, and it's just going to, you know, the device is going to become irrelevant over time. Igel is simple, smart, and secure. Igel is revolutionary in its simplicity.